One of the levers that the Americans could use to persuade Mr. Netanyahu is with the supply of military aid to Israel. Canada, Japan, Spain, the Netherlands have all said they're suspending some arms supplies to Israel. So far, the Biden administration has been reluctant to use that lever. But in recent days, there have been suggestions that it may be changing its position on that. I spoke to Ari Tolany, who's the director of the Security Assistance Monitor at the Center for International Policy think tank in Washington.
I can say that we have definitely seen a shift in public opinion in the United States, and we've begun to see that represented in Congress as well. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, among other members of the House, did call on the U.S. to adhere to international humanitarian law and its own domestic law by ceasing arms transfers to Israel.
And there was that little item in Chuck Schumer's speech last week where he talked about if Israel continued to pursue dangerous and inflammatory policies that test existing US standards for assistance, then the United States might have to play a more active role in shaping Israeli policy by using our leverage to change the present course. Do you think that was a veiled or thinly veiled reference to arms transfers?
I do. And I think specifically Senator Schumer was probably thinking of something called Section 620I of the Foreign Assistance Act, which is a provision that bars U.S. assistance, which is to say anything paid for by the U.S. taxpayer through the Arms Export Control or Foreign Assistance Acts, from going to a state which is barring the flow of U.S. humanitarian aid. Now, we know that Israel has made it quite difficult for aid to get into Gaza, including aid that is funded and delivered by the United States. And I would think that many would be eager to see Section 620I of the Foreign Assistance Act enforced.
And if it were, what would the implications be for Israel? I mean, how big are US weapons transfers to Israel?
Israel is the largest recipient of United States security assistance since World War II. Every year, U.S. taxpayer, that is, provides at least $3.3 billion to Israel in just foreign military financing. That portion alone makes up 16% of Israel's annual defense budget. And that does not include the hundreds of millions of dollars the U.S. provides in missile defense. It does not provide the pre-positioned stockpiles, war reserves that Israel is allowed to draw on at will, nor does it include many arms sales. So $3.3 billion is really the floor, not the ceiling. So the amount of leverage that the United States has here in terms of arms transfers really cannot be overstated.
If there were a shift in the administration's policy, presumably they wouldn't just switch everything off in one go. What are their options?
Well, I will note that enforcing 620I would only apply to assistance under two specific provisions in Title 22. Now, because of the way that the U.S. conducts arms sales to Israel, this would not include U.S. funding for Iron Dome. So I think the thing that we would be most likely to see is a halt on the types of weapons that are most likely to be used in Gaza and the West Bank, like small diameter bombs, like precision guided munitions, like small arms, light weapons, over the suspension of military aid like the Iron Dome, which is more focused on protecting Israel proper.
And the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has publicly at least suggested that he will go his own way and won't give in to pressure. What are his other options if the US does restrict or reduce arms sales or transfers?
I think it's quite likely that Israel already has sufficient munitions for its ongoing invasion of Gaza. I think the question would be, what would the implications be for resupplying Israel's stockpiles, as well as what arms transfers and arms sales would look like in the future, and what that would mean for Israeli military readiness and their concerns for regional escalation. This is an enormous amount of leverage that would have an impact on Israeli military defense.
That was Ari Tolany in Washington. Now,